Our first theme park trip of the year started off on February 21st. We left right after I got out of work and made our way towards New Jersey. I attempted to record me talking to the camera with not so good results. Hey everybody. Anyways, you can tell I'm a little rusty with talking directly into the camera. It's not exactly my thing, but I plan on making myself more upfront and center in future videos. Anyways, the trip to American Dream is about 5 hours from my home, but we decided to split it up by staying a night in a hotel. The next morning, we got up nice and early to complete the remaining 2 hours of driving to the park. If you're not used to city driving, the on and off ramps surrounding American Dream can be a little bit overwhelming and complicated, but just follow the signs and you should do fine. When we finally pulled into the parking garage, I noticed that there weren't many people there. It was just a little bit past 10 a.m., so it made me feel a little bit more optimistic that the park wouldn't be super crowded, but that proved to be ill-guided. Walking into the mall is very unusual because there's really nothing open, just a couple pop-up stores here or there, but nothing else. The water park hasn't opened yet either, but I did notice some movement in the park, which makes me believe that its opening date must be right around the corner. When we arrived at the ticket counter, getting our wristband for the day was easy. More guests were waiting in line to purchase tickets instead of buying in advance online like we did. Surprisingly, there are no security checkpoints to make your way through to get into the park. Just scan your wristband and in you go. However, I did notice many security guards walking around inside the park. As soon as we made our way into the park, I made a beeline for TMNT Shellraiser, which was closed. Apparently, the ride doesn't open until 11 a.m. on Saturdays, which is weird since it is their star attraction and it opens late. Since the ride wasn't open yet, and we had time to kill, we bounced over to Nickelodeon Slime Streak. This is the family coaster built by Chance Rides, and was the only roller coaster my 5-year-old daughter, Braylon, was able to ride for the day. The line was short, so my wife Kara took Braylon for another round while I watched our 1-year-old son Leander and set up my camera equipment. With more time to kill before 11 a.m., I snagged a ride on Shredder, which is a fun, long, spinning coaster by Gerstlauer. While I was riding Shredder, Kara took the kids into the Paw Patrol play area. My daughter is a huge fan of Paw Patrol, so she was having a blast. Well, 11 o'clock came and went, with no sign of Shellraiser opening. So we decided to ride a few more family rides before the park got busy, which by this point, the guests were starting to fill up the park rather rapidly. For the next hour and a half, we spent majority of our time near Shellraiser's entrance, hoping it would open soon. The coaster did start testing around 11:30 a.m., and I was able to speak to a ride operator who said it should be like another 20 minutes or so. This became the song and dance till about 12:45 when someone made the official announcement that the coaster would open at 1 p.m. Thankfully, one of the ride operators who I was speaking with let me and another group of guests in the ride first because he noticed that we had been waiting all morning for the attraction to open, so I got on the first public train of the day. So hats off to the employee for letting us have the first ride of the day. That was awesome. Now, unfortunately, my first experience with this Gerstlauer Eurofighter wasn't the greatest. The ride left me with a nasty headache. The coaster was way rougher than I anticipated. I was seated in the first row, far left, which I hear is not the best place to be in. Kara hopped on the next train via parent swap, and she rode in the exact same seat, but her experience was completely different. She said the ride was really smooth and she had a blast. Finally, it was time for lunch. We were all hungry, so we made our way over to the only food stand in the park. The line was long, but thankfully the staff were very efficient in moving the guests through. Seating was an issue since there wasn't enough tables for the amount of guests trying to eat, so we just sat on one of the concrete walls and ate our lunch there. After lunch, the park was bursting at the seams with guests, so I decided to put all my focus into shooting video. We did run into a few characters that my daughter wanted to meet: Blue from Blue's Clues, Chase and Sky from Paw Patrol. By 4 o'clock, there wasn't a single line in the entire park that wasn't under an hour wait, so we decided to leave the park and walk around the mall. As we're leaving the park, the line to purchase tickets was all the way beyond the queue and went down the hallway. Guests were waiting for over an hour just to purchase a ticket to get into the park. It was pretty crazy. We took a walk around the mall. Specifically, we wanted to check out the indoor ski range, Big Snow. It seemed to be busy, which is good to see. It's great to see that the American Dream is doing well and it's not even fully open yet. After leaving the mall, we made our way over to the hotel, which was only a mile away. After ordering takeout for dinner and helping Kara get the kids to bed, I decided to take advantage of our hotel's shuttle service and I went back to the park with the hope of getting on a couple more rides. Unfortunately, the park was still considerably busy. It was now like around 7:45 p.m., but the line for Shellraiser was shorter. This time I took a ride in the back row, middle seat, which was considerably smoother. It was about 8:45 when I decided to leave the park. The lines were just too long, but I got another ride on Shellraiser which made it worth it. Overall, I only got to ride each roller coaster once, with the exception of Shellraiser, which I rode twice. I'm sure I could have gotten on more rides, but when you consider having the kids and also wanting time to shoot video, you just have to decide what is a priority for you. Now, this wasn't the end of our extended weekend trip. We decided to spend the night at the Great Wolf Lodge in the Poconos. The next day, we couldn't get into the water park until 1 p.m., so we wasted a little bit more time shopping in the outlets in the area. When we arrived at the lodge, it was about 1 p.m. Not only did they give us access to the water park, but our room was ready so we could get ourselves settled in before heading down to the water slides. Great Wolf Lodge has a decent water park. It's not as large as Kalahari in Sandusky, but it was perfect for my family as my daughter was able to ride almost every water slide. When it was time for dinner, we headed out of the water park to see what our options were. We ended up getting a few pizza slices in their cafe. The seating was very limited. We had to cram ourselves into 2 chairs for the 4 of us, which was a challenge. Anyways, after dinner, we headed back into the water park for a few more hours of fun. The crowd in the water park had thinned out, so Braylon and Kara hit up the water slides while Leander and I just chilled in the lazy river. The next morning, we enjoyed a few more hours in the water park. We had access to the water park for the entire day after checking out of our room, but we decided to leave around 11 a.m. so that we could be home at a decent hour. As always, I'll be posting individual reviews of both Great Wolf Lodge and American Dream. Shellraiser, Shredder, and Nickelodeon Slime Streak will also receive their separate reviews, so keep your eyes peeled for them. This was just the first of many trips that we have planned for 2020. I don't have everything nailed down yet, but I do plan on visiting Dorney Park, Hershey Park, Six Flags Great Adventure, Kings Dominion, Carowinds, Cedar Point, Kings Island, and of course, we'll be at Kennywood on a regular basis. I also hope to hit up Busch Gardens Williamsburg, Dollywood, Holiday World, and Six Flags Great America, and then there's the possible Six Flags St. Louis and Six Flags over Georgia, but a couple of these aren't definitive. I did have Indiana Beach on the roster for this year, but I guess that's off the list for now. Anyways, hope you like this trip report. As always, please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more great content coming your way by XscreamThrills.